Lara Croft is a certifiable icon. Exploding onto the scene in the late 1990s, she very quickly became one of the most recognizable faces of video games as a whole. So of course, in addition to appearing in the games, she also made her way onto the big screen in several films, including the recent reboot starring Alicia Vikander. So in celebration of that film and the character, let's take a look at her journey from the lost city of Vilcabamba all the way to the big screen. This is the evolution of Lara Croft. If you enjoy this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell to be notified when we upload fresh content. So let's start things off with a little bit of history. In 1993, British developers Core Design began work on an action-adventure game called Tomb Raider. For the game, the team initially created a male adventurer as a stand-in protagonist, but over time they decided that a female character would better fit the project. So they created a South American mercenary character named Lara Croft and kept her around for quite a while, before changing her further into a British aristocrat named Lara Croft, the beloved character we all know today. Tomb Raider was released in North America on November 14th, 1996 for the Sega Saturn, Sony PlayStation, and MS-DOS, though the Saturn version did have an earlier release in Europe a few weeks prior on the 25th of October. The game went on to sell over 7 million copies worldwide and quickly became one of the most influential games of all time. Subsequently, the character of Lara Croft became one of the faces of gaming, appearing not just in the games, but also in advertisements for companies like Visa and Seat, as well as on tour with the band U2. The late 90s, early 2000s was a really weird time. So now that we got a glimpse of the character's history, let's take a look at her in-game backstory. Note that we're gonna be taking a look at the classic timeline version of Lara since it's probably the most recognizable one. Don't worry, we'll take a look at the other versions of her a bit later. Lara Amelia Croft was born on February 14th, 1968 to Lord Henshingley Croft and Lady Croft. Now, there was no canon first name given for Lady Croft. However, later reboots would actually take Lara's middle name and give that to her. The comics, however, would actually call her Andrea Croft. And that right there is why we're only looking at the classic timeline, because if we tried to look at them all, stuff would get confusing real quick. Being the daughter of wealthy aristocrats, Lara grew up receiving the best education money could buy, including private tutoring from the age of 3. When she was 16, she accompanied renowned archaeologist Werner von Croy on an expedition to Cambodia, which was the first of her many adventures across the globe. Of course, this first adventure didn't go off without a hitch, as after the duo recovered the mystical artifact known simply as the Iris, the temple they were exploring started to crumble around them, trapping von Croy inside. Now, that's not the only event that would occur that would shape her into the adventurer that she would one day become. Later on in life, Lara and her fiance were involved in a plane crash deep within the Himalayas, of which Lara was the only survivor. After weeks in the wilds, she emerged from the ordeal with a new view on life and turned to adventuring, much to the disdain of her parents, who disowned her. For years, she would travel all around the world making amazing discoveries, including the Ark of the Covenant and Bigfoot. In 1996, Lara traveled to the Andes mountain region of Peru, where she not only found the lost city of Vilcabamba, but also part of the Atlantean Scion, which led her on a journey that took her to Atlantis itself, where she fought and defeated Jacqueline Natla, an evil ancient ruler of that fabled land. This would sort of springboard her into several other adventures, including her search for the Dagger of Xi'an, 5 ancient meteorite pieces, and her supposed death in Egypt. I say supposed because despite having an entire tomb collapse around her, she still somehow survived. Sort of like her mentor Von Croy, at least until he was murdered in front of her and she was framed for it. But we probably shouldn't talk too much about the Angel of Darkness because nobody else is, so needless to say, she got out of that situation, and that's where the classic timeline ends. But after that, we got a bunch of different versions of the character. The 7th game in the first reboot, Tomb Raider Legend, brought with it the first major rework of the character. The biggest difference between this one and the classic one are the presence of a support team made up of Zip, Winston, and Alistair, and a slight difference in her backstory, with her mother having died in a plane crash at a very young age, and her father also having disappeared. And this is also the version that officially changed her father's name to Richard, at least within the games. It was also largely this loss of her parents that motivated her to go on her adventures, as opposed to the sheer thrill of it. The next reboot brought us the Survivor timeline version of the character. First appearing in 2013's Tomb Raider, this Lara is younger and much more inexperienced. Like the Legends version, her parents' death played a large part in her going down the path that she does, leading her to discover the mythical island of Yamatai and the source. That version was actually the inspiration for the latest film reboot, which follows a lot of the basic elements as the first game in the Survivor timeline, though there are some notable differences, which I actually covered in a recent video that you should totally check out if you want to learn more. And of course, there was the 2001 film series starring Angelina Jolie as the character. This version is sort of like a hybrid of the classic and Legends timelines, sharing elements of both, with her tough, no-nonsense attitude from the classic games, along with a support crew and backstory from the Legends games. Though it would actually be safer to say that the Legends games took these elements from the films, because they came out first. So is there gonna be more in store for Lara? With her latest film out now and a new game on the horizon, it's safe to say that she will at least be around in the near future. Beyond that, though, who knows? Let's just hope that we'll be able to join her on many more adventures for years to come. What is your favorite version of Lara Croft? And which Tomb Raider game is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. And if you have any suggestions for what character we should take a look at next, throw that down there as well. We might just pick it. And if you're watching this on Facebook, click the link to be taken to our YouTube channel for more videos like this one. And thanks for watching.